Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. Of course, as always, I'm Chad. Joining me is the glorious co-host that he is, Marcus. Marcus, how the hell are you?
Good man, we're back. Full effect.
No show last week. Marcus was single-handedly fighting off a tropical storm. He stood outside with a trash can lid and a broom saying, "You shall not pass." He wasn't
That's my purse.
successful. He wasn't successful, but at least he tried. What did you guys do? Nothing. So due to the tropical storm, it was a bit hard to get any recording time, which obviously precedents take over our silly little podcast. But we're back this week. Everyone's still upright, which is a good thing, and we're here to talk about some of the shenaniganry that is pro wrestling, starting with WWE Radio. Oh no. A lot of hullabaloo kicked off this weekend about this. Of course, uh, WWE Radio used to be known as Busted Open Radio. Also was once known as Pro Wrestling Radio or Pro Wrestling Nation. And the complications that are going around this have been kind of a little bit odd. Not everyone is getting the right information out there. I don't know who officially owns Busted Open, which is the radio show that Tommy Dreamer, Mark Henry, Bully Ray, Nick Nemeth, and Dave LaGreca have been hosting. There's no doubt, though, that the channel that show airs on is owned by SiriusXM. Busted Open may still be owned by Dave LaGreca, and they may not be owned in any way, part, or form by the WWE. This is going to be a two-pronged situation, so I need you all to listen to the first part before you react because the second part will come. I do not believe this was Busted Open's decision. They may be for it. They may be happy about it. But the idea, like Dave LaGreca and Busted Open were taking the brunt from wrestling fans for this decision. But this is something that SiriusXM does literally all the time. And this kind of highlights why they may have done it. They do this to struggling channels. I own a SiriusXM subscription. I know not everyone does. I know not everyone wants to. I own one. I like it for sports. If I'm driving to work, if I'm at work, I can listen to the games on my phone. Real easy peasy. There was a station that they had. It was called Faction Punk. It had no affiliate sponsor. It was not owned or operated by anyone but the network. They only had like a couple shows. One was like a countdown. One was a show where they would bring in musicians. It's called Six Strings of Punk, and they'd bring in the guys and they'd be like, "Hey, tell us a little about your music," and then pick six songs that you think help define who you are from other bands. So like they would have the lead singer of the Offspring come in and be like, I really love this Bad Religion song, I really love this Bad Brain song, what have you, and then they would play a bunch of brand new music, and it was so good. About February, March, I think, it was announced that Faction Punk was no longer going to be continuing on, and instead a new punk station called like Green Day's American Idiots was going to be taking its place. And they promised the same music, the same punk sound. And brother, I don't have an issue with Green Day, but every time I turn on that station, it's supposed to be playing all sorts of punk music, and yet all I ever seem to fucking hear is Green Day music. So now I have a deep disdain for Green Day. I have not heard any new songs off the network. I spent the last year listening to Faction Punk, writing down names, writing down new bands, getting into new bands, getting into new songs, and now all I hear is the same 30 fucking songs. Well, they did that because I don't know if you know this, Marcus. Punk music is not exactly a popular mode. It's not a popular avenue for music. For music. Most people who listen to music aren't going to listen to a punk station. It's such a subgenre of rock that a lot of people couldn't even name a band.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they couldn't even name a punk band anymore outside of like Green Day and they'll be like,
Did
oh,
you
well,
feel like
go on.
You feel like they name a rock band and thinking it's punk or associating it with punk?
Oh, I'm sure. Here's the funny thing
Yeah.
though. I could name you 40 bands in the last 30 years that became famous who you would never have guessed were once punk. One being, now they may be more underground than punk, but Sugar Ray used to be a hard edged kind of punk leaning, but maybe not full on punk band. But then they discovered that if they make pop hits, they'll make more money. And so that's what Mark McGrath did. Um, so with the takeover of WWE Radio over the old Pro Wrestling Nation, that to me is a sign that the network was not doing well. There was I remember I went out to see Zach for his wedding a couple years ago, and I had rented a car that had Sirius XM, and the Pro Wrestling Network also had MMA talk and boxing talk as well because it was coming up to the Mike Tyson Evander Holyfield, no, not Evander Holyfield, Roy Jones fight. Was that what it was? It was Tyson's comeback. Roy Jones was getting in the ring after a few years off, and they
Yeah,
did a
that
lot
was
of,
that. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
they were doing a lot of coverage of that on the network. So like, this is a network that's changed a lot over the last 4 or 5, 6 years, however long it's been around. It used to be Fight Nation. It says right here, as a general combat channel. And then in March 2023, it announced it was carrying audio simulcasts of select UFC events. So it's been around for a bit. And Busted Open is only so prevalent on that network. A
Yeah.
lot of it will, they had a bunch of Busted Open podcasts and what have you, but they also had other content on as well. So that to me tells me that this was not Busted Open's decision to partner with the WWE because one of the things SiriusXM loves to do is find big names that they can slap on the channel. And they have a bunch of them. They have a Bruce Springsteen channel, which never bothers me. I love me some Boss. But then they'll also select times they'll have like a Taylor Swift channel. They'll have a Beyonce channel. They'll have Halloween specific channels. They'll have like Christmas channels for the mainstream, Christmas channels for people who miss the classics, and Christmas channels for people who like white music, aka Christian fundamentalists. There's a lot of networks that are associated with big names. The more midstream Christmas channel that we liked ended up hooking up with Hallmark last year and became a little bit more too righty for us. So like there is a strong push by SiriusXM individuals to partner with established major names. And I need to put this out there. I don't believe the WWE has any ownership in this channel. This is a partnership. The WWE is paying SiriusXM for the rebranding. And for that, they'll have some sort of control, absolutely, but they are not the owners of this channel. SiriusXM can at any point decide they want to end it, and there you go. Now, some of the things that are coming along with this new partnership is that they're going to have in-house podcasts from the W Network plus Busted Open Radio. They'll also have coverage of all their major events, and they'll even have the word is play-by-play of certain major events as well, which will be about 15 minutes of activity and then an hour of ad breaks because WWE shows are unwatchable these days. But this also means that they won't be covering AEW, TNA, New Japan, and a lot of the people who are associated with the brand who aren't under some sort of WWE or WWE partnership contracts are out, namely Thunder Rosa. Nick Nemeth has confirmed he's staying on, but TNA and WWE have a working relationship, so that's not surprising. That all being said, the defense of the changeover, the defense of Busted Open, what have you, all that is valid. This is not Dave LaGreca's decision. This isn't Tommy Dreamer's decision. This was SiriusXM's decision. All that being said, it's still fucking bad. There should be no one just going, oh, this is good for wrestling. It's not. This is bad. The biggest issues when it comes to any sport of activity or sports or what have you is when one group dominates the conversation, even if they aren't dominating anything else. I think part of the problem, like when you look at the UFC, the problem with the UFC is they can't make any new stars. the, for whatever reason, so many of the guys that come up are compared to one, they're either all so very good or they're all so mediocre. And part of the problem is because they're all training with the same guys. They're all going through the same systems. They're all being developed the same way. They're all either being picked off the Dana White fighting show, or they're all going through the what the hell is that performance center that they have in Vegas. They're doing all that nonsense. And then what you're not getting is guys who are culturally different, who are coming up differently. That's why I think Alex Pereira became such a force in the UFC for as quickly as he joined up, because he came from a completely different background with a completely different skill set, and he came over and he became this vaunted
Yeah,
huge deal who's chasing a third title belt in a third division. I think he lost that actually. And there's no
yeah, you
pride. There's no Bellator. There's no other brand that is challenging them for not only talent but space. And when that's the case, you lose a lot of that potential to develop and get other guys. I'll tell you what. I was watching UFC for a long time. I remember when the UFC, I don't remember if it was the same day or back-to-back pay-per-views or what have you, announced that they had signed Shogun Hua and then Rampage Jackson. And everyone lost their mind talking about how the light heavyweight division just got super stacked overnight. But there's no more excitement because who are they going to sign? PFL is, a fucking dying ember at this point. Bellator got bought by them. One Championship was having a moment when it was on TNT and TBS, but now they're kind of like relegated to just if you remember they exist. And while Ryzen puts out a great product, they mainly focus like at lightweight and under. So like there's not a lot of big names you can scoop from Ryzen. Now you also have what is that group out of what is it? Poland. What is that? KSW, I think is what it is. They got a lot of great fighters, but they're pretty damn loyal to Poland, so they're not going anywhere. So like the WWE is going to find
yeah,
themselves in the same situation where when they take out the conversations of everyone else, they limit the reach of the potential audience because what you're doing is instead of putting out a menu that it caters to a lot of people, you're now hyper fixating on one thing and hoping to God
yeah.
everyone likes that one thing.
And also real quick, because like they think they're doing better than they are. Like they're the most visible they've ever been. Um, the product is as stale as it can be, but in their mind, it's the opposite of that. So to your point, what it's also going to do is it focuses the lens so much, you're going to make people hyper focus on just how lame your product actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not widening the plate. You're not providing nothing else on no vegetables. Like Booker T saying, like no bread, no water, just meat. And your meat is spoiled right now. Like it's completely out of date. It shouldn't be on the shelves. It's killing your audience. But again, because they're everywhere, all at once type of deal. The reach, like I said, the reach couldn't be any more expansive than it feels like right now. But their product is so lame duck that it's really causing a schism, and I think that's the reason why a lot of that backlash came with Busted Over, because it's like y'all gonna brand yourself completely around a product that is as stale as it could possibly be right now, despite what's being sold to us on a platter. Not for nothing, to your UFC point, much like the WWE, that brand, and we always mention this, has very much and is very intentional while they're telling you something else. Very intentionally, clearly MAGA minded.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's also turning off a lot of their long term fans. On top of what you said, is you know other brands no longer being available outside of UFC, because your other point about having a wide diversity of talent and uh, in terms of perception and elevation, a lot of these guys are not exciting, very lame duck in the way that they present, um, very boisterous and verbally divisive in their mentality and stuff. And for the most part, a lot of their antics go far beyond their fight anyway. their
Mm-hmm.
fighting style and fights anyway. So it's not grabbing the correct attention and with all those antics and Dana trying to get stand for something, but ultimately just following it, falling in line with everything else anyway. While he's going on these tours, saying that he's not doing that, while literally just falling in line. It's just a calamity that's holding the audience in half.
It really is. One of the things that I think stands out about all this more than anything is when you look at why this likely happened, it's likely due to listenership, it's likely due to engagement. And I feel like the WB does this quite a bit. They look at a potential stream and they go, we can improve that. And then it doesn't happen. Now some of you are gonna be like, you're saying nonsense. Saturday Morning Slam. What was that Twitter show that they had for a minute? It was like the Speed Show or whatever.
Yeah,
That didn't last.
something to that. Yeah, they all
205
they always think they can prove. Remember, what's the remember tout? They
Tout.
can get that off.
Oh, we're getting there. 205 Live. Tout. Uh, do you remember when WWE main event, not Saturday night, but just WWE main event launched on what is it? WGN.
Ion, Ion, yeah.
Was it Ion or was it WGN at first?
It was Ion because I was catching it at one point.
So they launch WWE main event and they put all this time into it, right? And they hype it up as this big thing. You weren't getting John Cena versus Batista in the main event, but you'd get like Nick Nemeth and Alberto Del Rio versus Jack Swagger and Chris Jericho, and everyone's like, oh, this is pretty cool. And now it's like it's on YouTube. No one's watching it. It apparently is now only 30 minutes long, and whatever it was is gone. Like it's completely differentiated. It no longer has the same oomph that it once did. You look at World Body Federation or whatever the fuck was called. You look at the XFL. Any avenue the WWE has historically thought they could improve upon, they couldn't. The WWE does not raise the river, but they do float it pretty well. And the problem with this is this all happened. This WWE Radio happened because people weren't listening to the network. If they were getting enough viewership and enough listenership and people were subscribing in mass to listen to Pro Wrestling Nation, this would never have happened. Now you're partnering up with the WWE for what's more than likely a 1-year option with the hope that it, grows your network a bit. But the problem is the people listening to the show usually were not listening for WWE content specifically. Not that they had a problem with it, but that they wanted other conversations as well. And now you're hyper focusing the conversation to a brand that most of these listeners don't watch regularly or don't watch at all. And you're hoping to replace them with a brand new audience, but the brand new audience does not exist because if it did exist, it would already be there. Now we have a whole entire situation of this network now that's bleeding listeners has to perform better, or it may not exist in a year, let alone regressing back to just being Pro Wrestling Nation. This is an issue, and that no one else is talking about. And they're going to do all they can to bolster this for the next few months. Like Triple H is going on the air on, I think, on Wednesday. That would be tomorrow as we're recording this. But when you think about that, if it goes bad, which I think it will, by, you know, December, you might get an interview with Chelsea Green's bootmaker. You might be getting a conversation with like uh, Luke and what was it? Luke and Duke, the Bushwhackers. You
Yeah,
might be getting like the Booty Man and Val Venus doing interviews
the
because
booty
if they don't have the viewership, they're not going to keep investing time into it. That is a staple of the WWE. And I think that's going to happen, and I think that's going to be a problem. So I'm curious to see what this looks like long term. I am not optimistic. I think alienating most of your listeners is a pretty stupid fucking idea. And I wish WWE, AEW, MLW, TNA, New Japan, all these groups could come together and be like, A network that talks about all of us is a good thing for all of us. It's what ESPN used to be before they started to buy into these sports companies. And now they can't talk about it freely because they don't want to ruin the partnership with case in point, ESPN can really no longer covers severe domestic violence issues in the NFL. They don't talk about the cheating allegations in various sports because they're trying to avoid getting dropped by the people who are now paying their bills. And when that becomes part of who you are, you lose any legitimacy as a conversationalist, as a reporter, as an interviewer, as a talking head. You lose it. Not that Bully Ray, Mark Henry, Tommy Dreamer, and whoever else had it. I think, respectively, the only two people that had less credentials as those three or four dudes were, who is it? Dave from New York, is that his name, or Jeff from New
Oh, you
York?
talking about JD? Yeah.
JD from New York, and Vince Russo. Those were the only two dudes who had less credibility than these schmucks anyway. And now somehow you're lowering the you're lowering all this, and it's like, yeah, what did you expect? What do you expect is going to happen? Funny enough, though, this isn't the only kind of big news I think needs to be talked about. Uh, last week, last Monday, Bill Pritchard of WrestleZone.com, or formerly of WrestleZone.com, has submitted his resignation and is leaving the site at the end of the month. I don't know why this happened, but I would say very safely he is one of the best in our business, and I'm concerned about what this means for WrestleZone and what this means for wrestling news as a whole going forward. Now, WrestleZone's kind of become a shell of itself ever since it got bought. I don't even know who owns it now. But like, we can't lose the good people doing this. And I feel like this, in conjunction with the loss of Busted Open and Pro Wrestling Nation or whatever the fuck it was called, I think is just two barrels to the chest. It's not great. Not a great situation. But let's pivot a little bit and talk about some TNA news. Apparently, TNA has interest in one of the biggest female free agents. I would say one of the biggest female indie free agents because I think in these days and ages, with the likes of like Shotzi, Mercedes Monet, there we go, that's Sasha Banks. The idea of a big name female free agent may have different connotations than what I'm talking about because like those two could probably pull in a decent paycheck. I think this young woman is not in that tax bracket yet. Hopefully one day she will be. But J Rod of OVW is someone that TNA apparently has a huge interest in, and apparently, according to rumors, have had a huge interest in for a little bit of time. But Tommy Dreamer, of all people, was the one that nixed it and said she wasn't ready, and instead served us to fucking Alana Black. Thanks for that. And so she may end up in TNA depending on how her WWE tryout goes. The problem is I think she's exceptional, a true athlete, and has one of the best looks in the game. I don't see her not making the WWE tryout successful. Like I think she's going to get picked up. And this is again one of the biggest issues with the industry is that the WWE does this. They go out and they sign these prospects and then they ruin them. And then when they leave, they're like, "What the fuck am I supposed to do?" Like look at Sammy Callahan. He came in with a lot of momentum, got completely fucking mishandled. And then when he finally got out, he took some time to get back over. And when he did, he got over bigger than he ever was. I think too many people think WWE is a guaranteed paycheck and a guaranteed road to success when ultimately it's not. But I understand the desire to get some stability. But I think she's going to be stunted if she look at Jordan Grace. She's a shell of what she used to be. I watched one of her more recent matches and I'm like, she has whatever she had in terms of desire for this business. I don't think is there, at least to the same degree. And now I'm going to watch another hot prospect in J Rod go up to the WWE and get completely just trampled. It's disheartening. But if she does go to TNA, I think she is a star in the making. Now, I would recommend watching some of OVW and watching some of her stuff in OVW. She's very talented. She's like a better moving China. I think China gets a bad rap for being a worker. I think for a female worker in the late 90s and such, I thought she was pretty damn good. Besides Medusa, probably the best female worker in the US at the time. Maybe there's a few indie stars I'm neglecting, but I thought China was pretty good. Not
Well,
against
I mean,
the likes of Dean Malenko, but like
yeah, I mean, real quick, just I mean, because you would know you watched more back then. Like, how much were they even allowed to do in that realm in terms of as women? I mean, obviously, I would
very
imagine
little.
China may have gotten away with more because of her physique and what that could mean. But like, how much were they even allowed to do? So
Next to nothing. Ivory came over from WoW in WoW's first run and was arguably their best worker. And when they got her, they're like, "Oh my God, they're gonna invest in the women's division. Like she's gonna come in and she's gonna raise the floor." And she couldn't. They wouldn't let her. And then they got Molly Holly, and Molly Holly was a great developmental prospect when she was with WCW as Mona. And then she came over, and they really restricted her. Now, granted, they both found ways to get over, like Ivory's whole run with the right to censor, and Molly Holly's Mighty Molly gimmick. Great, but they were better wrestlers than ever given credit for it. And I think China should have been given a little bit more. Now, granted, China was a little bit exposed when she wrestled people like Chris Jericho because Jericho was just so much better than her. But I think if you put her in there with Ivory or with Molly Holly, Trish Stratus later on in the run, I think you would have seen a lot better from China. And I think J Rod is a better version of what China was hoping to be. So like I'm excited to
yeah,
see what she
it's
does. She's going to be on the next season of the Gladiators, and I think
yeah,
that'll really open some eyes to what she can do. It's like we'll see if the
yeah,
WWE ends up picking her.
yeah. That's always fun. But the same thing with Jordan is like, because for as far as the women in their company has come, like, and to your point, they always find a way to kill the spirit of people who really are in wrestling for the love of the game. And Jordan is one of those individuals. But like when I told you about that match she had with Julia, where I think they ended up telling them to dial it back. I'm like, Jordan and Julia are not the two talents you tell to do that. And
You
it's
really
it's
can't.
it's it's insane. Like you should cutting their knees out from under them. And these days, I wouldn't normally recommend somebody, even though we have never shunned anything about a talent that's been the biggest highlight. I wouldn't normally recommend these days anything Tessa Blanchard related. But go back and watch Jordan's last match in TNA, which I'm pretty sure was with Tessa. And for a lot of that match, I'm like, I don't know. Uh, she got real life beef with her because it feels like she's trying to kill her. Like
And that
Jordan was like throwing a kitchen sink and something else at that girl. And Tessa's uh, Tessa's credit, she was giving as good as she got. But they would never let a match like that happen.
no.
Whether it's because they're just not comfortable with it or they don't want someone like Jordan, who's not one of their homegrown talents, to outshine, I don't know, maybe a Charlotte or somebody else. But just
And
that mentality, it screws over their talent, and not necessarily just Jordan. It screws over everybody that's behind her.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You're 100% right. Like there's some real concerns about how they book talent and why. And I think not wanting to get them over on talent that they quote unquote developed internally is a big reason why. They just didn't want her to go anywhere else. That's why they signed her. Speaking
yeah.
of people getting signed for that reason, Mike Santana is now in NXT as Cruz Montana.
Wait, what?
Yeah, no, seriously, that's his name, Cruz Montana. I want to be very clear about something. I don't give a fuck why he picked that name. I don't believe it in a single fucking moment. When Joe Henning came up to from what was it Florida Championship, he picked Michael McGillicuddy. He's like, well, McGillicuddy's a family name, and then we looked into it and like, no, it's not. And I think the WB tells talents to tell people, hey, if someone doesn't like the name, just say you picked it because it reminds it's your grandfather's name, it's your great grandfather's name, it's your former legal name, it's your mother's maiden name, because then they'll seem like assholes for criticizing how bad it is. Mike, Mr. Santana, you might have picked Cruz Montana. That might have been the name you picked. You might have thought to yourself, this will honor my grandfather. Cool, cool, cool. It's a terrible fucking stage name. Fucking dog shit terrible. It sounds just like who is it? Cruz del Toro or whatever fuck the what was his name?
Pop up in WWE in NXT. Maybe I guess the narrative of getting them used to WWE TV proper, but how much different is it from TNA?
No, it's a step down. He's going to be working with less talented people. He's going to be working with less talented everything. The problem is though is that the WWE I think is using AI to create some of these names. God knows they're using AI to write scripts. That fucking what was her name? Uh, was it Jessica Blackheart?
Oh, you talking about the black girl? What is her name? Something Volcana?
Oh yeah,
Volcana?
Vulcana. Yeah, that's Reina Vulcan.
Yeah. You talked about that promo. You were like, this is dead ass AI. This is all over the place.
It was such a terrible fucking yeah, Reina Vulcan. It was such a terrible fucking promo that it had to be written by AI. And her name is so dumb. It has to be written by AI. Cruz Montana has to be AI. And the problem is like there's a reason why I don't think people are catching on to the 35 and under wrestlers the same way they did the older ones. And it's because these names suck. These personas are generic. I think somebody saw the Stone Cold Steve Austin, he's just him, but cranked to 11, and thought that'll work for everyone. And didn't ask themselves, all right, but Steve Austin himself is a dynamic, charismatic, captivating individual who will suck you in when he talks. So we could name him Billy Bob Nobody, and I guarantee you he'd take off the same way. Billy Bob Nobody 316 said, I just whoop your ass. It would work. Nobody 316.
Yeah.
Or Billy Bob Nobody 316 says, no one can beat me. Billy Bob Nobody 316. Like it would work because he's so fucking charismatic. Mike Santana can cut a decent promo. He's a decent enough character, but he's not so interesting that this name won't sink him. And here's part of the problem. When you start talking about what you are, where you're from, your family, and you don't start talking about who your character is, what your character does, what your character's capable of, you've already stopped being interesting. You've already stopped being original. Yeah. Mike Santana's dealt with addiction issues, and he's come from the block, and he's from little what is it, little Puerto Rico in New York City. Reina's from the first Dominican Republic wrestler ever, and like, listen, that's a great personal achievement. As a fan, I don't give a fuck. I've been hearing about second, third, fourth, fifth, 16th generation wrestlers for the last 30 goddamn years. I don't care. But you tell me that this one wrestler has never been knocked out, he's never submitted, and he's even killed a few men in the dark heart of Europe. Well, okay. I mean, I know that's bullshit, but like,
Hmm.
okay. So talented as an ex-military man that they wrote an entire character, an arrow based after him called Slade. Only this man dropped more bodies. Oh, okay. All right. Former stripper turned nurse turned pro wrestler. Saves lives by day, takes them by night. Characters, right? Characters. That's what we want. We want characters. Cruz Montana, he's just a dude from New York. Raina Vulcan, just a chick from Miami. And then we wonder, well, why are the fucking Hardy Boys over at 50? I don't know. Because we have fucking
Yeah,
nostalgia on. Why is
yeah,
Danhausen as over as he is when that dude is less athletic than me? Because he's got a character. Why is Joe Hendry able to get over in TNA and WWE despite the fact he's at best a mediocre wrestler? Character. Why is who is it? Who's the Japanese female? Io Sky, is she the one that does that goofy ass head bob with the
yeah.
fingers? Why is she over? Because the goofy ass head bob with the fingers. No one else is doing shit like that. If you're original, you'll stand out. Mike Santana is just Stone Cold Steve Austin's character with hair. Reign of Vulcan is just a deeper tanned China. Like the WWE is not cultivating characters, and so they're stuck wrestling with guys who made their names who had characters 20 years ago. And everyone's shocked, like, why is CM Punk and Cody Rhodes still fucking over? Because they developed characters 20 years ago that they're still riding with today. Now, in Cody Rhodes' case and even in CM Punk's case, they're characters in it's like an ethereal visage. It's like a left. It's like ectoplasm. It's a leftover remnant of what they used to be. It's still there. You can tell it's still there, but they ain't that anymore. But it's still enough to get them more over than all these other people. So like they're gonna need to do better with making new characters. They're gonna need to do a better job bringing these guys in. I didn't ever have a problem when WWE tried to do this. I remember when they brought in A Train back from Japan. They made him Lord Tensai. Not a great idea.
Yeah,
Not a great gimmick. But the idea of giving him one wasn't a bad idea. It was just a
yeah.
bad gimmick. And I feel like the WWE doesn't have a lot of these characters anymore, and it's why they're getting under 3 million viewers on. I think they got like what 2.78 on their last edition of Night of Raw. Not a great number. SmackDown's not doing much better. Attendance is falling off. We're gonna get to SummerSlam here in a little bit, and like
You
they haven't sold out a single
it's,
night, let alone half the
it's,
half the bowl for both nights. It's not good.
it's, it's such a weird thing too, because been consistent about this, like, and that's a spectrum because not everybody, like you said, Stone Cold basically really just being himself, kind of turned up. But like I said, everybody can't do that because who you are may just be ass, and you trying to turn it up and just it's just a louder form of ass. Um, but you got somebody like that who can really just dial their personality up a little, and then you got the other end of the spectrum, somebody like Tony Storm who just goes full to the other end of it, missed it a bit, is allowed the time and space to hone it, and it becomes some of the best TV you'll see. But in WWE, they'll do something like Lord Tensai, or like I said, you remain pretty consistent the way you felt about Bray Wyatt. Um, but they had something for a second there with the Fiend. Overexposed, it ran it to the ground, did stupid stuff around it. They did the same thing with Lord Tensai. Was captivating a little bit at first, and then they stupefied it, and they've done that. They did the same thing with the Wyatt stick and other characters here and there. Like it just make these supernatural things too dead ass regular, or you overcomplicate it to the point where you just don't want to see it anymore. And they can't really get out of their own way. So a lot of these channels really just end up falling into something dumb, like that pops off like a Rusev Day, or briefly the whole thing with Jack Swagger was working for the whole American of it all. You got other Gable has some moments, but it's more so on the talent than the company. And it's not everybody because they have so many people. Somebody like Mike Santana, who's another quality talent in the ring, really just gonna get lost in the shuffle. A name like Cruz Santana, Cruz Montana,
There it is.
is only gonna make it easy to get lost in the shuffle. That is one of the least standing out names that you can have. I don't if he picked it or he was guided towards picking it. I don't. Like I said, the guy's talented and sincere, but you can only do so much when the deck is being stacked against you like that.
Agreed. We'll see how this all turns out for him, though. He's a talent, but I don't think he's talented enough to overcome a stupid name, whether it was named after his grandfather or not. Speaking of stupid decisions, let's talk about AEW. You have a paid show. paid show coming out, right? Technically, they're all paid shows because you need to pay for cable, you need to pay for electricity, you need to pay for television. They're all technically paid shows, but this one's considered a premium paid show because you have to pay the pay-per-view fee. Kenny Omega took on Kevin Knight in what was, I don't know, I haven't seen anyone talking about the quality of the match. Let's just see what they're saying on the cage match of it all. Worst case, it was a ho hum match. Best case, it was fine. It's got an 8.46. You will want for more from a Kenny Omega match. He's that talented still. But Kevin Knight 2 years ago was coming off of run as a nobody in TNA and as an even slightly more nobody in New Japan. Like they've done a decent job building him up, but like main event on a pay per view, are we high? And I have to ask why. You're coming into All In, your biggest show of the year that you are struggling to put tickets into. I think they're up to like, I don't know, 30,000, might be more. And they still have like a month or two. They got about 5 weeks to get people in. And they've only announced 3 matches. And they're all bangers. Willow Nightingale versus Mercedes Moné, Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay, and of course the Hardys. No, I'm sorry, not the Hardys. Cage and Cope, Adam Copeland and Christian Cage taking on the Young Bucks for the tag team titles. All these are title matches. That'll help sell tickets. But I think it's worth noting that I don't think Redemption as a whole did a great job building up to that show. And I have to wonder why they opted to go with Kevin Knight in this spot over anyone else. Because you look at who's on this card, and there's a lot of names who weren't on it. And there's a lot of names that made more sense for him to go with if you want to do a title match. But also, I'm not opposed to doing like Kenny and the Bucks versus, John Moxley, Will Ospreay, and Cesaro or whomever. They may have already done that match on what was it, Dynamite or what's the other one?
Confronted Moxley on commentary, and Osprey took one of them out with the hidden blade. There, Moxley did the what is it, Dirty Deeds? I know that's not the name of it now, but yeah, the DDT. So that might be coming, and probably they might do that on the Go Home show, leaving it all in. But
Collision.
that's the
That's the other
thing.
show.
Yeah.
But like with all that they had, that this was their main event. This for WWE standards, this would be Cody Rhodes versus I don't fucking know. Stacks. You're gonna put that on the main event of a pay per view? Are you kidding me? Now Kevin Knight's a much better wrestler than Stacks, but like he's such on the come up. I think he's like 26. He's young. Kevin Knight is young. Oh, he's 29. He's not as young as I thought. But like he's still developing. His character isn't that pronounced. His in ring style isn't that unique. He still needs a little bit more time to carve himself out a slot that's all his own. And I feel like you could have done a lot of other names in the spot that would have been a more interesting matchup that would have drawn more eyes. And unfortunately, they didn't want to do that. And I think that's kind of, emblematic of the issues that I think AEW faces with their booking. I know sometimes, you look at All In, so far so good, but I think a lot of what we see from Tony Khan is that he books for what he wants to see, which is always an issue. I don't think Kevin Knight on his own is moving the needles that he would need to move to justify main event positioning. Now, I understand, Collision or Dynamite, you put him in the main event just to kind of pop his notoriety a bit, get his perception a little bit bigger, make his aura a little bit more colorful. But you don't do that on a pay per view. They only did that with Stone Cold a few times because Stone Cold was gotten to a point in 96, 97 where people were clamoring to see him and they wanted to test him in the main event scene. I think on this card, I don't think Kevin Knight is in the top 50% of the workers on this card alone. In the opening match, you have Mike Bailey, who I think is better. You have Commander, who's better, and you have El Clone, who's maybe on par. You know, then you got the Young Bucks and Will Ospreay and John Moxley, all of whom make a better option for Kenny Omega than Kevin Knight. Bandito and Kyle Fletcher are better than Kevin Knight. I wouldn't say anything with the Dogs or the Bang Bang Gang. um, I know some people still rep Pac and Claudio. Um, then you got Andrade El Idolo, might be on par or better than Kevin Knight. So like even on this card, Kevin Knight's not the most talented guy. Like if this was TNA, right, and you wanted to have Nick Nemeth versus Leon Slater, there's not really going to be a lot of people against that idea because Leon Slater's probably your best wrestler, right? So like going with
Yeah.
Leon Slater makes more sense in TNA than Kevin Knight in AEW. And I feel like they missed the ball to go into all in on a hot streak.
Yeah. So I would imagine he lost, correct?
He did. He lost to Kenny. 25
I
minutes.
wonder if yeah, I wonder if they did this to tell a larger story because essentially, like I said, you know this, they done lumped a lot of people into the Don Callis family. A lot of
Too many.
hitters.
Too many.
Like you got one of the best groups going. But T Knight kind of had this story where he kind of came in as a young hot upshot and shot up the food chain of the Don Callis family past a lot of guys. So you would basically say are better than him to get in that spot, and basically kind of bum rushed himself uh, with Callis kind of backing him, but not really looking at him as the guy, but being like, I got this spot now. I'm the TNT champion. I'm the young upstart. So he kind of bum rushed his way to the thing, and I wonder if they did just solely to sow a seed of like you should have never been in that spot type of deal within the context of the group because obviously they've been telling this story, these defections, obviously Omega, El Idolo, I forgot who else he might have kicked out, but they're kind of telling this story, the Callis family of we're gonna bring you in if you're valuable, but if you overvalue yourself or what have you, somebody like Omega, uh, El Idolo, and hell, Takeshita, you won't be wanted here. So I wonder if they did that just to kind of lead to something like that. Like the young upstart got way ahead of himself, and he's not worth the investment that was put into him in the faction.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We'll see what happens. All in still,
Yeah,
4 or 5 weeks away. So like, things could change. What's not 4 or 5 weeks away is SummerSlam. That's this weekend. 2 nights. And they described what it's going to
nice.
be like right there on the poster. Hell! It's going to be hell. So here are the matches for the 2 nights. I don't feel like doing predictions because they seem like terrible. Liv Morgan versus Io Sky for the Women's World Championship. Same shit, different Monday. Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar in a Hell in a Cell. CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes for the undisputed title. LA Knight, Solo Sikoa, and Royce Keys versus the Bloodlines, Jacob Fatu, Jay Uso, and Jimmy Uso. So like I guess Solo Sikoa and LA Knight are just squashing their beef. That makes sense. Gunther and Nick Aldis in a singles match. Took them 3 years to get Nick Aldis in the ring. Fucking pathetic. And the Bellas, Nikki and Brie Bella, will take on Fatal Influence. Oh, sorry, it's the Bellas and Paige will take on Fatal Influences. JC Jane, Laney, Reed, and Fallon Henley. Talk about three fucking terrible names. Night
Triple
two,
star banger, they coming.
right? Night two is going to be Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins for the world title. Penta versus Chad Gable for the Intercontinental title. Tiffany versus Jade versus Chelsea versus Charlotte versus Julia or Lash Legend in a five-way match for the interim WWE Women's Championship. Danhausen versus Dominic Mysterio on a human money's on a pole match. I guarantee you, there's going to be contender for worst match of the year. Can we all just officially agree that Dominic Mysterio has not gotten better since he debuted in the WWE and he's a terrible fucking wrestler? Can we all just agree on that finally? Because he's fucking dog shit. He's not. He's worse than Hook, and Hook is
Hey,
as
shit.
boring as they come.
Yeah, Hook is it's not what he was gassed up to be a lot of. But people need to admit, like y'all, they got gassed up on because he was their favorite goth girl's pet.
Yeah, basically. That's the only reason why he got
That,
over.
that's what they want, and they holding your boy Danhausen out just to used as a way to bring in celebrities. Not every situation gonna turn out like it did with whoever was that delivered that hell of a choke slam.
Carl Anthony Towns, and that was fucking
Yeah,
incredible on his part.
yeah. Not every situation gonna turn out like that. Now the thing I want to say was it Robert not Robert Garcia, but the Garcia kid that was with
Oh
him recently.
yeah, Danny Garcia, the boxer, I think is his name.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the
Uh,
the well-known homophobe and racist.
Tracks, right?
Ooh. We also got Sami Zayn versus Finn Balor in a number one contender match for the undisputed WWE Championship. That's going to be awful to watch because like they're both 43 or 44 or 45 at this point. Yay, new talent. Sami Zayn has become everything he hates. Love it. And then we have Trick Williams versus Baron Corbin, the match we've all been wanting to see for the U.S. title. Um, Shit show. The talent is either overloaded, overbooked, uninteresting. Guys like, fucking Nick Aldis and LA Knight should have had their time 3 years ago. And now the guys that will one day be world champs are having to sit in catering because other guys like, Liv Morgan, Cody, Punk, LA Knight, they're not getting out of the way. Roman Reigns, same thing. Apparently, people found out Seth Rollins is probably going bald. It's like, that's hilarious. Yeah, don't watch it if you don't want to. It's not going to be worth checking out. Marcus, another news that makes me sad. Panini is releasing MLW Ring Royalty trading cards. Now, why does this make me sad? I collect pro wrestling merchandise and I collect sports cards. You would think that this is a huge gift. Let's read the press release. The crown jewel of MLW collecting has arrived. Major League Wrestling and Panini America, MLW's official trading card partner today, launched the 2026 Panini Major League Wrestling Ring Royalty, the first ever hobby trading card release dedicated entirely to MLW. Ring Royalty is on sale now. Featured MLW fighters include Killer Cross, Mystico, Shotzi, Satoshi Kojima, The Good Brothers, Scarlett Bordeaux, Matt Riddle, and more. In addition to the stars of MLW, fans can also pull autographs from legendary names across professional wrestling such as Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, and Kurt Angle. They spelled Rick wrong. They spelled Ric Flair wrong. This is an official press release, probably written by AI. Collectors can chase a wide array of rare and stunning premium inserts, including the iconic Black Slate, Le Cynic Pio Bell, State of the Art, and Paint by Number, and relive the most memorable moments in league history with the special MLW highlight subset. Growing up, well, we're not going to read all that. Ring Royalty is available at your local hobby shop, on the Panini website at paniniamerica.net, and at retailers including Walmart, Amazon, and Target. Ring Royalty marks the latest milestone in MLW's partnership with Panini America, which was announced in the summer of 2025 and also includes memorabilia and collector stickers. Since June, Panini Instant has immortalized every MLW live event in MLW Instant Collection, and MLW fighters made their in-store debut in Panini's Combat Anthology Hobby Box alongside legends of wrestling, boxing, and MMA. Ring Royalty now gives MLW its own flagship hobby release. Marcus, would you like to know what a Panini box is going for?
Yes, indeed.
Well, I'm going to tell you a number. It's $24.99. Now, you're going to think to yourself, wow, that's kind of in line with box prices for baseball and basketball and other wrestling cards. And Marcus, you'd be right. But oh, wait, that's not for the box. That's for one card. The Austin
For
Aries
wrestling.
20, yeah, oh yeah. Austin Aries 2025 Panini Instant MLW 29, the Lightning 5, is $25. It's got a few variants and it's Austin Aries beating up Mystico. We have one with Mystico beating up Ultimo Guerrero, $25. We have one of Matt Riddle screaming, $25. We have one of him signed, $40. These are individual cards. So when I tell you that the Panini Ring Royalty MLW trading card box is going to break your brain, I'm not lying, sir. The box goes for $80 or 80 human monies, as Dan Houser would say. And what do you get in this box? You would think, baseball cards, basketball cards, football cards. They have $80 boxes, and they usually come with like 15 to 20 packs, usually like 200 cards. And you're like, okay, I'm paying a lot more than I should, but like compared to other prices, I'm getting a lot. It's like, that's not too bad. In these boxes, you'll get 2 autographs. You'll get 6 inserts or parallels per box on average. Now, in this case, I will say this: it says that you get 10 cards per pack, and you get 1 pack per box, and you get 16 boxes per case. So, what does that come out to? You get 1 card per pack, pack per box. You get 16. So you're getting 160 cards, give or take. That's pretty absurd for $80. That's nothing. That is absolutely nothing. Now, will I be buying it? Yes, because I have a problem. I have a problem. But when you think about that, you're only getting 16 packs. That's it. That's all you're getting. You're getting 16 packs for $80. If you were to go to Meijer or Target today, you can get a pack of 25 for $25. You'd probably get 12 or 13 packs. So like this is inflated beyond belief. I'm a current collector. I'm not talking about prices from a year ago or 2 years ago, 10 years ago. I mean, I've seen them for 25 to $30. You get almost the same number of packs for your more traditional sports. Now, is this a more niche hobby? Yeah. But TNA was selling their cards for like $10 a pack at one point, something like that. So like, I don't know. I know AEW is not charging this much. Let's go see what AEW is charging. Let's get a fair price comparison. It's AEW. Let me think here. It's AEW. What is it? Tops collector cards. You can get a Tops Chrome WWE set for $35. You can get, where's the AEW? I said AEW. AEW does have cards. Why am I not getting the AEW cards? A Upper Deck AEW Skybox Metal Universe is going for $22. A Upper Deck AEW Skybox Metal Universe Hobby Box is going for 33. So like the hobby box is going for 60, and I think that's what this is supposed to be. I think this is supposed to be their hobby box. So like they're charging about $20 more for their cards than AEW is. Yikes! That's a problem. Now, I love collecting cards. I have a lot of them. So like yeah, I'm interested, especially because the price point's going to be cheaper for this hobby box than it would be for those individual cards they were selling. So like I'll I'll put some money into it, but like I don't know if this is going to be worth it for everyone. So if you're a collector, you may be interested in this. If you're not a collector, I get it. But we got to talk about one last thing tonight. Val Venus is back, much to everyone's chagrin. He returned on some indie show this past week. He looks like he's the deflated. He looks like if you took a Val Venus action figure and deflated him of all the plastic that made him up. And that's what you get. Now, he is 55. And he spends probably more time ranting about liberals and the gay community than he does lifting weights anymore. But like this is a rough outing. Marcus, do you think there's anyone out there who wants to? Because like we talked before about how I think there's people out there that if he's able to make a return, that would be interested in seeing Buff Bagwell come back for a one last outing, even though he had the leg amputation. Do you think there's anyone out there that wants to see Val Venus wrestle?
Yeah, same weird, bad built, um, worm-minded guys that probably used to live vicariously through him when he was in shape and when his character was perceived as good on TV and how they evolved or devolved as he have into these um, homophobic, bigoted minded internet trolls that, just want to be hateful all day. Um, or somebody that just you know, overly obsessed with these individuals as we see all the time on social media. They're probably about the only people, you know, that excessive point. People who live vicariously through them, just outright obsessed with them, which you know, that's really, you know, distinction without a difference. Them.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
no, that's fair. I don't think he's going to make the impact he thinks he's going to. Although knowing the word I just used, I wouldn't be surprised if TNA tried to call him up and be like, "Hey, you want to do one off for us?" I wouldn't be surprised about that. He actually did spend some time in TNA back in 2010. He had 3 matches. He beat Christopher Daniels on pay per view. Then he lost to I don't even remember who. And then I think he beat Jeff Jarrett, and then he was gone. I don't know why anyone thought that people wanted to see him. Him, Orlando Jordan, the Nasty Boys. They all came in with Hulk Hogan's crew, replacing guys who actually had talent who wanted to be there. And then within 3 or 4 months, those dudes were all gone. And like we all saw it happening. So like the sooner Val Venus leaves the world of wrestling behind, I think the better for all of us.
It's
But with
very
that
good.
being said, Marcus, I have nothing else to add to today's show. Is there any final thoughts you have on anything?
Besides the fact that the people you just named, it didn't get better as talent. It just got weirder. Like Orlando Jordan specifically. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, but no, that's about it. We don't necessarily have we don't have a underground moment this week. I'll bring that back next week. But what are you real quick talking about TNA? How are you liking the women's TV tournament, and who do you potentially see winning it? That's it right now.
that's a good question. The matches have been fine. You know, the biggest issue with anything we talk about with TNA, it's going to be a lack of talent.
Yeah.
Um, as of right now, I don't know what the spoilers are. I know currently in the quarterfinals we have Indy versus Thea Hall. M by Elegance is waiting for, I guess, either Alana Black or Wendy Chu, or maybe she's just no, she's just going on to the semis. Um, Jada Stone versus Jody Threat and Mara Sade versus Heather by Elegance. I think Heather's going to go over on Mara. I think Jody Threat's going to go over on Jada Stone, and I think Indy's going to go on. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to do an all Elegance finals with M going over. If it's M or Jody Threat or even Jada Stone, I think I'll be fine with it. I think they're giving the right people a chance to shine. What I will say though is I wish somebody like Gabby Forza had advanced on, and I wish we didn't have to deal with the likes of Thea Hall at all or Wendy Chu. I think both of those names could have been rested at home, and TNA could have actually brought in some people that are more worth our time.
Yeah,
So,
that could have been a good opportunity to test talent that you maybe wanted to later sign.
bingo. You are not wrong, sir.
That is okay.
Who do you want to see win?
I think it'd be cool to see Jada Stone win. We talked about obviously they probably they all probably have the names like Andy Hallwell or Orlando Black. Those names personally propel the two of us. Nothing against them personally, just they don't click with us talent wise. I think somebody like Jada Stone would be really cool because I think about the the type of competition she would invite because essentially um, it would appear like she's easy to knock off because of her size, and then that would really make her like a kind of like a pit bull almost underdog type of champion, which I like to see, and then get them a rep in the ring.
I agree. I think getting some of these young women a chance to shine on a bigger stage should have been the priority, and giving options to people like Wendy Chu and Thea Hall probably wasn't the right call. Not to rhyme. But with that being said, we're done with the show. We'll talk a little bit about SummerSlam next week. Probably won't do a full review. We don't really do full reviews of of the big two, the AEW and the WWE. We don't really do full reviews of that. Marcus, you got another podcast out there. It's the True Penny Show. We're going to plug that here in a second. What are you guys talking about this week on the pod?
Yeah, G1's in effect. So you check that out. Then we got some stuff coming up talking about some stuff with Noah and Gleed as well. So be on the lookout for that. And y'all, so like you said, keep checking us out. Get the numbers up on YouTube, and appreciate the listeners who already do.
So with that, we're going to run it down. RealNerdCorp.com, RealNerdCorp.com. Yes, those mid-year reviews are coming. They just may not be coming at the mid-year mark. You can check us out on the website. You can also find us on the YouTube and Twitch at Wrestling Underground on both. We're on Twitter at NERDCORP. That's NerdCorp on Twitter. We're also on our individuals. Marcus, you can be found on yours at Paradox Kid, PARADOXKID.
That's me.
You can also find him on his other podcast. Excuse me. His other podcast is, of course, the aforementioned True Penny Show, TruePennyShow. You can find him on Twitter and YouTube. Check them out there. Marcus, nope, my turn. You can find me on Twitter at Chad Nerdcorp, CHED, and on the Instagram at Chad's Photo at CHEDSPHO. Jesus fucking Christ. CADS. Got? CHADSPHOTOHET. There we go. I recently posted a new photo of my cat Darby doing a kickflip. Not really, but it looks like it. You can also find me on, Jesus Christ, this ending is falling off the fucking rails.
That's the best.
It's just all dead. It's a 17 car pile up. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for getting
Thanks for giving us a chance. Thanks for Jesus Christ, I can't remember it now. I'm just rolling on myself. Thanks for giving us a chance. Thanks for listening. Remember as always to watch more wrestling. I think there was another one. Remember as always to watch more wrestling. I don't remember. Oh my god, this ending is terrible. Marcus, take us home. Oh no.
Good night.